open field trials of a genetically modified super wheat have been approved by ministers despite fears it will contaminate other crops. The planting in Hertfordshire, which will be surrounded by a steel fence to keep out protesters, will start in spring. Scientists claim the wheat is able to dramatically increase the yield of grains, but the technology is controversial. American farmers have turned their backs on planting GM wheat for fear it will be rejected by shoppers. Critics fear British wheat sales and exports will suffer if crops here are contaminated with genes from the GM plants. The wheat has been genetically engineered so that, in theory, it can use sunlight more efficiently. Genes from a wild plant called stiff brome have been inserted. The process also added an antibiotic marker gene and genes giving resistance to some weed killers. Tests in greenhouses at Rothamsted Research have boosted yields by up to 40%. The field trials will determine whether this can be replicated in open air. It is not the first GM wheat to be tested at the site. British researchers took 5 years to develop a crop that gave off chemicals supposed to deter insect pests, but the process did not work in field trials. More than $3 million of public money was spent on the trials and associated security measures. Trials on GM wheat varieties in the U.S. have led to some so-called escapes, creating the risk of contaminating wild plants and commercial crops. GM Freeze, representing 30 organizations, had called on ministers to refuse permission for the wheat trial. However, the government has made clear it is keen to promote GM farming. Liz O'Neill of GM Freeze said, "We raised a number of technical concerns about the application itself and highlighted the potential for GM wheat to escape into the wild. As has happened repeatedly with GM wheat trials in the U.S., wheat varieties which were modified to make them resistant to weed killers have been discovered growing outside field trials in the U.S. on 3 separate occasions in recent years." Peter Melkett of the Soil Association, which supports organic farming, said, "We do not believe that this trial should go ahead. It is vital that the trial crop does not escape from the trial site given the inclusion of antibiotic resistance and herbicide tolerance genes. But that is exactly what has happened on multiple occasions with GM wheat trials elsewhere. If that happens here, it will threaten the growing use of UK wheat in British bread." The claimed potential gains from this trial are achievable through other means and there is simply no market for the trial's eventual end product. The trials, which are jointly funded by the British and US governments, have been approved by the Food and Farming Department (DEFRA). The Rothamsted team, with researchers from Lancaster and Essex universities, says modified wheat carries out photosynthesis, the use of sunlight to convert water and carbon dioxide into glucose and oxygen, more efficiently, resulting in more grain. Rothamsted's Dr. Malcolm Hawkesford said the trial would assess the plant's ability to produce more using the same resources and land area as their non-GM counterparts. He added, "These field trials are the only way to assess the viability of a solution that can bring economic benefits to farmers, returns to the UK taxpayer from the long-term investment in this research, benefits to the UK economy and the environment in general." Essex University's Professor Christine Rain said, "To date, photosynthesis has not been used to select for high-yielding crops and represents an unexploited opportunity." How the mutant strain escaped across the U.S. by Tom Leonard in New York for the Daily Mail. Genetically modified wheat trials have long been a source of controversy in the U.S. While supporters insist GM food is safe, America has failed repeatedly to stop it from contaminating GM-free wheat. In 2013, a strain of GM wheat was found sprouting on a farm in eastern Oregon where it had never been grown. The farmer made the discovery after spraying a patch of wheat with herbicide and finding it did not die. Testing confirmed that the strain, which was resistant to the weed killer glyphosate, had been developed by biotechnology giant Monsanto across the U.S. between 1998 and 2005 and tested in open fields. However, it was never approved or marketed. Scientists were puzzled about how the crop had appeared when no seeds should have been available for 8 years. The discovery rocked international wheat markets. Japan, South Korea and Taiwan suspended imports of U.S. soft white wheat for months, while a Kansas farmer sued Monsanto, saying it had caused the price of American wheat to plunge. The U.S. government insisted the outbreak was confined to a single field, but it was never able to explain what had happened. A Monsanto boss blamed anti-GM saboteurs. Other theories included a bag of wheat being mislabeled at Monsanto or even passing geese infecting the field as they flew over. More Monsanto-made GM wheat was found in 2014 in in a research field at Montana State University. There were field trials of the wheat at the research station 11 years earlier, but it should have been removed or destroyed. Roughly half of America's huge wheat crop is exported. In 1999, Thai scientists claimed they had found GM wheat in a grain shipment from the Pacific Northwest of the U.S. The news caused shock in America as GM wheat had not been approved for commercial sale and was grown only on supposedly secure test plots. Officials were unable to discover how the shipment, sent from Portland, Oregon, had become infected, but admitted that a small number of acres of GM grain had been planted in the states of Washington, Idaho and Oregon that year. Critics say such cases of GM wheat contamination are evidence that field trials must be monitored far more carefully. Carol Mallory Smith, a wheat science expert at Oregon State University, said the outbreaks showed that plant genes are likely to persist in the environment once they are planted in open fields. There's really no way of retracting that gene or bringing it back and saying, "We've changed our mind," she added.